Trackwrestling with Julia Salata of King University and Wrestle Like a Girl and Olympic hopeful. Put this moment in perspective. We're at the first National Collegiate Women's Wrestling Championships. How does this feel to be part of this?
It's awesome. I was actually just over here taking a picture. Send to Sally, our executive director of Wrestle Like a Girl, showing look how awesome this is. I've been on the college wrestling scene for about 10 years now, both as an athlete and a coach. And to get to this point, there's a point where it seemed kind of unfathomable. We knew we were going to get there eventually, but it seemed so far off. And to be here for this moment, I'm not an emotional person, so I won't seem emotional, but I'm really proud to have played a part in it. Been one of those pioneers of college wrestling as an athlete, and now being here as a coach, and then being here on the Wrestle Like a Girl side of things, that I kind of helped make this event happen. It was the work of a lot of people and a lot of groups and a lot of stakeholders, but to have played a very small part and worn a lot of hats to make this happen, it's pretty cool.
And then have it close to where you grew up, that has to be extra special.
Yeah, I'm 45 minutes right down the road. My parents are going to be here tomorrow, so I've done a lot of cool things in my life, but I really hope it's something my parents are proud of. So I want them to be here. I'll have an aunt and uncle here as well. So to have it in my home state is pretty awesome.
We've heard the narrative of male wrestlers saying they were kind of against it in the early phases, and then you've just seen a 180. Why do you think that's happened?
I think it's kind of a more accepted thing now, and then you kind of get back, how did we get here? And I think something that we've talked about before is that we currently have so many superstars in women's wrestling. You have Victoria Anthony hitting inside trips. You have Forrest Molinari being aggressive in people's faces. You have Adeline Gray just being dominant on the world scene. And there are people that the wrestling community can get behind. And it's not just women's wrestling fans, it's the wrestling fans that previously only thought it was a male sport, seeing that women can be really good at this sport as well, and they can have personalities, and they can be fun to watch. And now that we're having more growth at the lower levels, at the collegiate level and high school level, people are starting to see how much it's growing. And our girls have these role models now, so we're getting more people involved. State sanctioning is skyrocketing. I think 4 years ago we had 6 states sanctioned, and now we're at 21. So the growth is happening at all levels. We're starting to have more male advocates. You had John Smith, Coleman Scott, Carrie Colott, all have been women's world team coaches over the past couple years. So having some big names supporting us and having those male advocates is helping out as well. And we're just going to keep seeing it up from here.
Do you think the women wrestlers understand the skills they're building with this sport?
I sure hope so. As a coach, I definitely hope so. And it goes so far beyond just wrestling. Something that Terry Steiner always kind of preaches is that when he's trying to sell women's wrestling to people and those typical, only males wrestle type people, is that we all acknowledge how many life skills you can build through wrestling, and why would we want to limit that to half the population and only give those skills to men? We can teach discipline, accountability, all these skills that are going to apply later on in life. When these girls go on to have professional careers or whatever they want to do, the things they learn in wrestling they're going to carry with it for the rest of their lives. And like I said, as a coach, that's what I hope that I translate to my girls. I want them to succeed out here. I want to have 12 All-Americans, come Saturday night. But if they walk away from their college wrestling career with a diploma in their hand and knowing they can tackle any task and do so with accountability and honor and just honesty and things that you need to have to be a successful wrestler, I'll have done my job.
We're in some step in the process to getting to the end game of NCAA-sanctioned wrestling for women. Where are we in that process?
So Division 2 and 3 voted yes on emerging sports status on January 26th. That'll take effect fall 2020. And then the Division 1 vote is going to happen at the Division 1 Management Council. That takes place April 22nd and 23rd. I'm not sure which date they're voting. All signs right now point to it going in our favor, just like the Division 2 and 3 vote did. But once that happens, we'll move forward with emerging sports status. And even if Division 1 votes no for whatever reason, Division 2 and 3 will still proceed. Once that happens, we'll go through 1 full year of being an emerging sport, assuming we hit 40 programs by the fall. So the next big step, now that we have emerging sports status, is hitting 40 programs. We're at 36 right now. I would be shocked if we're not at 40 come August of this year. So once we hit 40, we'll have 1 full year of being an emerging sport. If we maintain those 40 programs, in 2021, spring of 2021, the Committee on Women's Athletics, as part of the NCAA, will propose women's wrestling to become a championship sport, much like what they did with emerging sports status this past summer, back in July, I believe is what it was. If that happens, just like it did this, back in January, it'll go to vote at the NCAA convention in April of 2022. So that's kind of a couple years down the road now, as you can see, but that's kind of the process. Hit 40 schools, maintain emerging sports status for 1 year, then we go to the Committee on Women's Athletics proposing it as a championship sport in the summer of next year, and then that following year convention, April 2022, it'll get voted on to become a championship sport, assuming we're still at 40 programs again. From that point, it doesn't mean that we're guaranteed to have a championship by spring of 2023, that following calendar year. There are a bunch of factors that come into that, such as tournament committees, financial and budgeting reasons, logistics, that kind of a thing. The NCAA kind of operates in budgeting cycles, so it'll kind of depend on that. So when they vote on that proposal as the NCAA in April of 2023, they'll also vote on an effective date. That could be anywhere from 2024 to 2025. We're not sure yet. That's things that are above my pay grade. I don't know how they decide those things, but that's kind of what we're looking at. So we are still a few years out from having an official NCAA championship, but we're moving in the right direction. It's not so much of an if, it's a when. And I think within the next 5 to 6 years, we will have our official NCAA championship. We have this tournament in the meantime. It'll continue as the NCWWC tournament as an emerging sport. So we're still moving that right way. So I think some people kind of get discouraged when they hear like, oh, we're still 5 years away from this. But it's not because we're doing anything wrong. It's not because we're at a standstill. It's just kind of the nature of the beast and how the NCAA operates. But that's a really lengthy response to what you asked. But that's to get all the information out there. That's what we're looking at.
Is it fun to know that so many King Wrestling alumni are having an influence on women's wrestling?
Absolutely, yeah. I signed with King when they were in their first year. And at the time, like, people thought it was nuts. And I was a 3-time junior Fargo champ. Everyone's like, you have your pick of schools and you're going to a first-year program? I'm like, yeah, it sounds great time. You know, I believed in Coach Mormon's vision and still do today, obviously. If he told me to go run through a brick wall, I'd do it. And I think it shows in the amount of alums we have competing at Olympic trials with myself, Sarah, Forrest, Allie, Haley Augello, Ashton Ortega, who's currently on the team, is qualified. And we just have such a strong culture and a strong alumni base. And even, I was talking before about athletes that translating those life skills into later things. One of our old athletes, one of Coach Mormon's men wrestlers, and one of our old female wrestlers, Emily Stella, are married to each other, Nick Stella and Emily Stella. And they own Rise Supplements, if you've ever heard of it. And they sponsor Conor McGregor. If you're ever seeing like Joey Swole on Instagram, he's one of his partners. So like we have people that are succeeding beyond their wrestling careers as well and doing some really awesome things. Coach Mormon actually, we were just talking about on the bus about what some of our alumni are up to. But as someone that's been a part of that program pretty much since the beginning, I've seen every evolution of it. Every wrestler that's ever put on a King singlet, I know them in some capacity, whether as a teammate or a coach, as an athlete. So it's a pretty incredible program to be a part of, especially in so many capacities as I am now. So I'm pretty proud.
Are you doing this for the long haul and wrestling for the long haul?
Coaching or just in general?
In any way, just be part of this.
Regardless of where I end up, whether it's more of this administration role, whether it's coaching, I'm going to stick in that vein. I'm done competing after this year, and my body's going to thank me for it quite a bit. But like I said, whether it's coaching or administration, like wrestling is who I am. And I'm going to stick around and be a part of it for as long as I can, and as long as everyone keeps putting up with me. So.
Thanks, Julia.
Yeah, no problem.